in this session we will talk about a very beautiful concept which is basically the vitamin for the life, and that is the optimism. In the optimism, first we will talk about the concept and definitions of this optimism, that is what exactly the meaning of the optimism. Then what is the literature is based on this particular topic optimism, then types and classifications, then there are different theories of optimism also that we will discuss, and then we will find out that is what is the theoretical framework and what is the theoretical input for the optimism is there, and if we have the optimism then how it changes our life, and that is their outcome and results are there. Strategies to become more optimistic, if we find that is somebody is not optimistic, can we by training we can make him optimistic? Yes, we can make him by optimistic, will be discussed on the optimism. So, when we talk about the optimism, the question arises what are the roots of the word optimism are there, and from where this optimism word has come. The word optimism has been derived from the Latin word of the optimus or the optimum. That means the best or the greatest good is there, and therefore, we will find it is the beginning of this word has started with the positive emotions. It is bringing the positivity, because the itself right from the beginning this particular connotation has been used for the good, and not only the good or for the greatest good, and that was the origin of this beautiful concept. And Shelley in 1819 first recorded the word optimism as a tendency to take a hopeful view of things. And last time we have discussed about the hope cycle, and we talked about the hope, and here we will see that is how optimism and hope they are connected and how they are different, and therefore, in that case it is because it is the greatest good for a human being, and therefore, in that case this concept has been introduced with the hope. Emerson in 1841 first attested that optimism is the general sense of belief that good ultimately will prevail in the world. It is always there is a fight between the devil and the God, and we will find always that is the good thing prevails, and whenever we are having any story and the end of the story should be with the everything is good. So, therefore, this particular concept is started with the belief that is the ultimately whatever will exist in this world. If anything is good, that will exist. If anything, any kind, any subject, if it is bad, one day it has to finish. So, therefore, this is the good is ultimately will prevail in the world based on the volatile philosophical satire, that is the Candide, published in the 1759. Then we will talk about the you would like to see one picture, and I hope that you will think about this particular picture, and you can think please see this picture, and what do you think, what is the message? So, in this picture you will find that is the husband and wife are there and that they are into hurt, but in spite of that you will find the smile on their faces, and dear friends, that is the message. Message is that in spite of all other the constraints or restrictions in life, right, limitations in life, but in spite of that these persons this couple is still is looking satisfied. You can see the glow on the face, you can see the smile on the face, and you can see the contented concept on their faces. So, therefore, it means that is the persons, the human being, right, when he decides to be happy, and really they can be happy. And naturally in this picture actually the message is that whatever the condition is there, then that optimism, that hope, right, that satisfaction, that those positive emotions, they are making a person happy and then the optimistic. In simple words, optimism means state of being positive. So, all concepts, as earlier I have talked about, that is the optimism is related to the good, right. Here we will talk about that is the optimism is related to the positivity. Optimism is referred to as hopefulness and confidence, to be highly hopeful and be confident about the future or the successful outcome of something, and therefore, in that case it will be found that is the whenever we are talking about this confidence, the future or the success they are the outcome, they are the outcome of the concept of the optimism. So, whenever we talk about the concept of the optimism, that is it is because of the future or in the future leading to the success. Another beautiful concept is optimism is an individual difference between variable that reflects the extent to which people hold generalized favorable expectancies for their future. Now, you see that is the future is unknown, but in spite of that the human beings they keep of having the high expectancies from the future, and in the future the expectancies are positive. Naturally that we want to gain something, we will receive this, we will achieve success, right. This type of feeling is there, and that will lead a person's life in a better way. It means that optimism will lead a very successful life, a very positive approach, a very positive thought, and then will make a person the fulfillment of his expectations. But if the person is not optimistic, it is understood that if the person is not optimistic, then it will be difficult to fulfill his all expectations from the life. Now, let us see the theoretical input on this optimism. The first we will talk about the Oxford Dictionary. It is a mental attitude, a happy belief that the outcome of some specific endeavor or outcome in general will be good, that I have discussed in the first slide also. That is the optimism leads to belief that at the end there will be something good. Helen Keller in 1960, the faith that leads to achievement, that belief and faith that leads to achievement. No pessimist, just opponent of the optimism is the pessimism. So, therefore, the optimistic persons will not having the any, no pessimist ever discovered the secret of the stars. Those who were optimistic, they have discovered the stars, are sailed to an uncharted land, that is the wherever is the explores and discoveries, right, or opened a new doorway for the human spirit. If person will not be optimistic, the results will not be there, no positive results will be there, and the person will not have a dream. Optimistic people, they have the dream, they explore, they discover. So, optimistic person only discover the star. Optimistic persons only, they have identified that there is somewhere there is a land, and then this optimism that one day I will explore that where is the land, where is the island. So, that will be the making the person the sailing the boat. The Tiger in 1979, he has given the definition, an attitude or mood. Optimism is an attitude or it is a mood associated with an expectation about the social or material future, one which the evaluator regards as socially desirable to his or her advantage of pleasure. So, therefore, here even when we talk about the moods and emotions and therefore, that hope cycle if you recall, then in that case you will find that particular cycle of mood association, and that is making the expectation about the social or material future is there, and that is a social or material future that is leading towards the advantage of the pleasure. Then the Shear and Carver 1985 defined that it is a generalized positive outcome expectancy. So, therefore, it is becoming the generalized positive outcome expectancy, that is the how the one will be achieve that the outcome, and earlier considered also what is the end result, and end result is positive, and therefore expectancy. Their view includes present perceptions and appraisals as well as future expectations, and therefore in that case it is becoming a very important for the present perceptions and the appraisals. If the present perceptions and appraisals are very strong, then definitely in that case you will find that is you are able to meet the future expectations. If you are able to control your present in a proper way, if you are able to control the present with the future expectations, you will have that particular result which will lead you to a success. Denver et al. 1989 is talked about optimism is a much broader term and is a positive outlook on life, and therefore in that case it is becoming a very important, that is the optimism is a much broader, and the a person who is having a very optimistic view, right, towards the his life, that is the yes, life is beautiful, there are certain success, there are certain failures in life, but ultimately when we talk about the life, life is a journey with the good experiences and bad experiences, but good will prevail, good will be leading, good will give you the success, good will give you the achievement of materialistic values, even prosperity. So therefore in that case you will find that is the, according to Daimler et al., it is a positive outlook on life. Talben Shahar in 1993 talked about willingness to accept failure. It is now the first time you will find this definition is talking about, that is the how the failure is becoming the important. So willingness to accept the failure while remaining confident that the success will follow a positive attitude, he contrasts with the negative perfectionism. So here what is important is that is to whatever the failures are coming in the life, and there is a willingness to accept it while remaining confident that success will follow. So therefore in that case try and try again. So because in the first try attempt if you are not successful, make the second attempt and then the third attempt, and you will find that is the your mind thinking that will make the success follow a positive attitude, and he contrasts with the negative perfectionism related to the compulsive drive, and is related to compulsive drive, that is whatever the negative perfectionism is there and that we will overcome, right, that is the how this negativity that will be overcome to the success, a positive attitude one will be developed. Now when we talk about the Gilham 2000, a generalized expectation, right, again it means that you will find that is in the most of the definition the optimism is an expectation of what about the good about what, it is about the life. So whenever a person is having the generalized expectation, individual would experience good outcomes in the future course of life, and therefore that good outcome in the future course of life will be possible only when you are having the positive expectations from life. Peterson 2000 observed as an affective, cognitive and motivational construct, wonderful concept is there, and therefore in that case, because the earlier also we found out that is if there is a failure and there is a need for the positive thoughts. So therefore that will be an affective, cognitive and motivational construct, and that affective construct, cognitive and motivational construct will be about, that is the how a person is getting that particular self confidence, because this particular concept is checking out a person from the failure. It is giving the direction for the success, it is raising the hope, it is raising the expectations, it is raising the quality of life of an individual, right, and therefore in that case it is the affective also, cognitive also and motivational construct also. Higgins and Butt 2001 has talked about optimism, a self-serving tendency, right, to explain the positive events with the internal controllable causes, and therefore in that case it becomes very important, that is the where is expectation, where is optimism, it is within self. Oneself has to be the optimistic. if the oneself from the intrinsic motivation from inside, if he is optimistic, then that will call the self-serving tendency, that whenever I am getting failure, I am getting the self-confidence, positive expectations, positive moods, and therefore that means I am serving myself and coming out to the positivity. So, therefore, a self-serving tendency to explain the positive events with internal controllable causes. So, these internal controllable causes, that will make this self-serving attitude, and to explain negative events with the external uncontrollable causes. If you remember, I have talked about the internal and external locus of control also. So, optimism is becoming the part of the internal locus of control, where you are developing your self positivity, and when there is a negative occurrences are there, or the happenings are there, you are saying that is the negative events with the external uncontrollable causes, and if the external uncontrollable causes are there, then there will be the negative be uncontrollable will be there. But when negative uncontrollable causes are dominated by this self internal positivity, then definitely the life has to be successful. Seckinger et al. 2010 has talked about a tendency to believe. So, it is a faith, it is a belief, it is a positivity, it is a motivation, it is the affective, it is the cognitive, and therefore, in that case optimism is a tendency to believe, expect or hope that thing will turn out well despite current excruciating experiences is there. So, therefore, one has coming across many external negative factors, but he is defeating, right, and therefore, in that case you will find that he is winning over those negative thoughts, negative circumstances and the failures with the one belief, a tendency to believe that yes, I can, I will. The Seligman, optimistic people think about misfortune in the opposite way. They tend to believe defeat is just a temporary setback. So, whatever is the failure is there, and that particular failure or defeat is just a temporary setback is there, and therefore, in that case we can overcome that, because it is for a short period of time, it is for a particular period of time only, but it is not permanent, and therefore, we can overcome that. That is causes are confined to this one case. So, therefore, this type of this belief, that is the misfortune is temporary, misfortune is not permanent, and there is expectation of positivity, there is expectation of hope, then definitely in that case this will cause to continue to be successful rather than to be the failure in the life. The another definition is given by the Telly Sherrod in 2013, and it talks about optimism is the ability to move back and forth through time and space in one's mind, and to think positively about our prospects. It helps to be able to imagine ourselves in the future. So, therefore, optimism is definitely the ability to move back and forth through time and space in one's mind, and always, because what is important is that is the whatever the past is there, it is past, done, cannot be undone, but the question is what is the future, where you are moving forward, and then if you are having a tendency to moving forward, and then in that case definitely one will be having a very positivity in his life. To think positively about our prospects naturally, because that misfortune has gone, right. So, therefore, in that case now we have to look towards the positivity, we have to look towards the optimism, and that optimism will come with the expectations of the positivity, and the wherever we are having these particular prospects in future, and definitely it will be helping us to imagine ourselves in the future. It also very important, that is what belief or faith you have to imagine yourself in the future. And if we talk in the terms of the managerial skills, and if you recall, I have talked about the role, and if your role you feel that is very positive, role is progressive, role is a leader, what position you will have? I will have a position of a leader, and then that particular positivity, your future imagination for yourself, that will lead the life. And therefore, whatever we imagine ourselves in the future, if we imagine ourselves in the future helpless, dependent, poor, then definitely we will lead our life towards the those directions. But if you imagine yourself a powerful person, a prosperous person, a respectable person, a knowledgeable person, then definitely in that case these particular thought, belief and faith and optimism, that will make you in that direction. So, therefore, it is individual. However, on what factors the optimism depends, why some people are optimistic and why some people are not, that I will discuss in the next session. But here it will become very important, that is it is very important, your belief. How do you create your belief and faith? If your belief and faith is the role imagination, you are wonderful, but if your belief or faith is not in the role imagination, you are gone. Then the Garbiolo Jerkovic et al. 2014 talked about a general expectation of the positive outcome without emphasizing on the agent who controls the outcome. So, therefore, we were talking about the expectations, good expectations about the good, expectation about the life, positivity of the life, and therefore, that positive outcome will definitely will emphasize us, and it will get recall us to again and again, that is the yes, my life is beautiful, I will play a very important role, I have to achieve the power, position, prosperity, and therefore, in that case you will find that is the whatever your outcome is on the basis of your expectations, belief and faith, that will lead your life. Optimism is one of the dimensions of the psychological capital that is defined as positive and developmental state of an individual, and therefore, when we talk about the human capital, in customer capital, in the social capital, right, it becomes very important, that is what is your psychological capital, and then the psychological capital that will make lead towards a positive and development state of an individual. The other dimensions include self-efficacy, hope and resilience, and therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the other dimensions will include your self-efficacy, hope and the resilience is there. If your self-efficacy is high, it is wonderful, if you are having the hope, wonderful, and then there is a resilience, then really you will lead your life in a very positive way when you are full of optimism. Now, here the term of this psychological capital has been used. Now, I would like to define the psychological capital. Now, please notice here there are the 4 dimensions. One is hope, efficacy, resilience and optimism. Are you rich psychologically? That we will see now. Hope, the ability to see a better future and believe that it can be created, while optimism is seeing events as having internal factors that can be controlled and external ones that cannot. So, therefore, there is a very critical difference in the hope and optimism. So, here we will see, what do you see? You see a better future and then believe that yes, I can create the better future. But when you talk about the optimism, is seeing event is okay, but having the internal locus of control, and thus this can be controlled, and external one that cannot be controlled, and therefore, you are having this type of the expectations of the happening of the good or happening of the bad. Now, the efficacy, confidence in the ability of the self-efficacy, self-confidence in the ability to achieve a specific goal in a certain situation, and therefore, this self efficacy leads to a confidence, right, that is that I am having this ability to achieve a specific goals, and therefore, there is a certain but in a certain situation, and therefore, you will find that the efficacy is there. Resilience, the fourth terminology, not just the ability to overcome adversity, but to also use it as a growth opportunity. So, here you will find in the resilience more energy, because it is not the only ability to overcome the adversely. So, you will come to the adverse effect, but not only that, but also use it as a growth opportunity, and therefore, in that case the resilience is there. So, whenever we talk about the hope, efficacy, resilience and optimism, the 4 dimensions, you will find that is the all are focusing towards the positivity and good in the life. Now, we would like to take a certain literature on this optimism, and in the optimism the literature will be a study conducted by Seligman 1990 that new sales personnel at the Metropolitan Life who scored high on a test on optimism sold 37% more life insurance in their first 2 years than the pessimist person is there. So, therefore, you will find that is the, if we talk, I have talked about the managerial effectiveness, and in the managerial effectiveness I have talked about the ability. And when we talk about the ability, and then that ability is leading towards our optimism. So, that is the, if you are optimistic, you are a competent manager. What, why? You will be able to give the better results. What better results? For example, example is given here, 37% more. So, therefore, in that case the success is 37% more than those who are not optimistic. So, if you are pessimistic in life, then your targets you will not be able to achieve. So, that combination of that hope and optimism and then efficacy and the resilience, that will build a personality, and that personality will give, here is an example, more than 37%, and therefore, in that case you will find that is the, yes, we are supposed to be optimistic in our life to give the better results as a manager. In another study involving debt collectors in a large collection agency, the more successful collector has significantly higher scores in the area of self actualization. So, therefore, in that case it is the always those who are having the optimism, they will be getting the self actualization better, independence and the optimism, and they will score higher and higher is there. So, those who are able, like example, another example, this was another example, like if they are the collector in the large collection agency, debt collectors, then definitely in that case the debt collectors, because of their optimism overcoming the negativity, they are able to collect more. In 2009, Rasmussen et al. Established that optimism is a significantly predictor of the positive health outcomes. So, naturally I have talked about the stress. So, those who will be having the optimism, they will have the expectations of the good to be happened, and therefore, in the case the stress level will be low, and if the stress level is low, then definitely they will have the positive health outcome. If there is a negativity is there, then in that case there will be no positivity, no positive outcome is expected, and therefore, in that case because of there is no positive expectation is there from the life, from the results, from the either you are the debt collector or you are a sales personnel, right, and if there is no optimism, then definitely there will be no results at all. So, therefore, it is becoming very important, and that is the, if you have to possess the optimism, so at least minimum you can have the positive health. because if you are not optimistic, you are under depression, you are under stress, it is the very much possibility that is the you will have the bad health. To avoid the bad health, the one should be very much optimistic and the positive. Further, Ness and the Segerstrom 2006 confirmed that dispositional optimism, generalized outcome expectancies, that good things will happen, and therefore, in that case you will find that there will be the generalized outcome will be there and that the good things will be happen, and it is in 2006 that is this dispositional optimism, right, that will not be there, was found to be positively associated with the approach coping strategies. If you recall, in my earlier session I had talked about the stress coping strategies. Stress coping strategies in by two ways. One is the physical, there is the mental, and when you talk about the physical, that is your exercises, your yoga, your walking, your cycling, your swimming, and that will be the physical stress relaxation, while our rest is also. So, otherwise it will be the negativity will be there more, and there will be high more stress will lead up to the productivity, and then it will be declining. So, therefore, we have to confirm that there is always the attitude towards the coping the strategies, stress coping strategies, that will become a very important dimension and factor in the your optimism. Another study in 2030 by Singh and Jha suggested that enhancing optimism among students may help them in reducing their anxiety and thus improving their academic performance. So, it is optimism is not restricted to the industries people. Optimism is not restricted to give the better results at the workplace in the industries, but this is also related with the academia. If the students themselves they have positivity and they believe that if they study more on this particular subject, and then they can minimize their anxiety, and they as a result they enhance their learning process and mechanism. If the learning process and demonstration process is better, then definitely in that case their academic performance will be also better, because a positivity is I will, I can, and therefore, when the concept of I can come, from where it will come? From optimism. That is, a person is very much optimistic, that is yes, and will be the good, there will be good performance and good results will be there, and therefore, in that case you will find that because on the basis of their that self confidence generation, they will have the better improving their the academic performance is there. So, therefore, we find that is the definition of the optimism, which talks about the positivity, which talks about the end result will be good, and then as a result of which you will find that there is a better output at the industries, at the workplace, or individual's life expectation will be positive, and one will believe that he will have the long life, healthy life, and will be able to cope up with the stress, and simultaneously if it is the academic performance is also there, this optimism concept is applicable for each and everyone, even in the case of the failures, and for the academic performance also you will find more optimistic persons, they are having the better future, and this is all about the definition and the some part of the literature of the optimism. Rest of the part I will continue in the next session. Thank you.